Welcome, everybody. We've still got a few more people that are coming in. We'll just give them uh, one more minute, but as they're coming in, because I'm conscious of time and there is a lot to cover today. So I might make a start because we're a little bit past the starting time. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kylie Newey. I'm the Director of Policy and Workforce Planning here at Jobs Queensland. We are recording this session. For those that are watching from their office, that you will see that there'll be several presenters today. We will have QR codes and information on the screen for you to share. You don't need to frantically try and keep notes. We will record this session and load it up so that you can watch it back. We also will have a 2-page flyer to share with you so that you will have access to their QR codes and information so that you can follow up with anything that is of interest to you at a later time. So you can sit back and just absorb the information for the next hour. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. We will have a team member that will answer your questions as best they can. Anything that they're not able to answer for you today, we will touch base with you offline and share that information with the group following. I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander owners and elders of the lands and seas on which we meet, live, learn, and work. We acknowledge those of the past, the ancestors, whose strength has nurtured this land and its people, and who have passed on their wisdom. I would also like to acknowledge those of the present for their leadership and their ongoing effort to promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples and their culture. And we would acknowledge those of the future who will inherit the legacy of those efforts. As I did state, the information is going to be recorded and we will share it post this event. So all of the information that we're sharing will also appear in QR codes if you're wanting to jump on while we're speaking as well. So please feel free to listen and learn as we go, and you can follow up at a later stage. I was going to hand over to Mary Creary, the Executive Director of Housing and Homelessness Programs, and she will provide an overview of the housing and homelessness sector. Mary, are you on the line? No. I do know that she had a few other conflicting events at the moment. So I will set the scene. She was going to thank everyone for their time and also provide a little bit of an overview of the project. So I'll just share my screen to get things started. So released earlier this year, the Homes for Queensland report, it does outline the target, a target of 1 million new homes by 2046, and this includes over 53,000 social homes. To deliver this, it will require a whole of system approach to address the challenges currently being faced. The plan also mentions unprecedented support for the frontline workforce who look after the vulnerable and make sure that renters are given a fair go. Workers and organisations like those that have joined us today are the ones that will be impacted by this. And we thank you for your time and hope that by sharing this information with you today, we're starting the journey of collaboration. I hope the key messages that you take away from this from today's session is about the importance of also thinking longer term, but also thinking about your workforce and beginning that process now. There's a lot to cover, and there's also the QR codes on the screen. So what I will share with you is, as we kick off the information section of today, is Jobs Queen's Anticipating Future Skills series. So we call this AFS for short, and it provides employment projections in a region, an industry, occupation, and also a qualification level, along with some replacement demand. So using the definition that was provided to Jobs Queensland by the Department of Housing, we have put together some data that reflects your sector. Our modelling suggests that an additional 6,747 jobs will be needed by 2025. This is an anticipated growth of over 27%. Noting that this figure does not include replacement demand, which usually increases the new workers needed as people leave an industry due to resignations or retirements. You can use AFS series for workforce planning. It helps you identify regional growth, or it helps you make decisions about future careers. It also provides detailed employment projections to help you understand what Queensland's future labour market might look like, and it is available on the QR code on the screen. So as you can see, over 6,000 additional jobs are going to be needed, and a total employment of over 31,000 in that time. Workforce planning has never been more important, with a anticipated growth of over 27,000, 27%. So what we did want to walk you through today was around the Workforce Planning Connect, and this is about thinking about planning for your workforce. Workforce Planning Connect is free to download, and it does step you through the 7 stages of workforce planning. It's available on the Jobs Queensland website now, so for those of you that are wanting to have a look at this free tools and resources, it is available on our website and accessible through the QR code, but as I've said, you can have a look at it at a later stage if you're wanting to. So let me just show you what resources are actually available. Those free resources are available for organisations to undertake workforce planning on your own. It does step you through the process, so you don't necessarily need someone to step you through the process. But there will be another speaker coming up that will talk to you about the free tools, free services that are available to support you with using Workforce Planning Connect and also undertaking workforce planning. So Workforce Planning Connect has a workbook, a toolkit and templates, and they can be customized. So you can download them off of the Jobs Queensland website, and those templates that are off to the right, they're actually downloadable and you can customize them. So you can add your own logo on there if that's something that you're wanting to do. The workbook is most suited to micro businesses, so up to 30 employees, and then you have the toolkit, which is for those more for the small to medium size enterprises. As I said, you can download it and you can fill in the information of your business as you go, and the finished product is your workforce plan. We know that a lot of businesses do feel intimidated by the process, and sometimes they don't know where to start or they think that they don't have all of the information. Workforce Planning Connect is about you starting the process. You don't have to have all of the information to get started. You just need to have a willingness to make a start to get that process rolling. So, who is workforce planning helpful for? It is helpful for businesses who are wanting to build their capability, who are ready to respond to changes in your staffing, businesses that are exploring growth or expansion, and you need to start planning for your future. So rather than being reactionary, you're actually starting to plan for what your future workforce needs are going to be. There are a lot of benefits to workforce planning, but particularly for your industry, we know that your industry is experiencing a lot of change at the moment. You may want to improve productivity, particularly as you're having people moving throughout the sector, or they may be leaving to go and work in other industries. It helps you identify those risks as well and build future workforce skills. You may see some employers do report that it improves their retention strategies and also increases their employee job satisfaction. So, how do you make the most of it? Workforce planning does work best when it is linked to a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, please don't panic. You don't have to have one to be able to undertake workforce planning. It does enhance the process. But if you don't have a business plan and you're wanting support and to be able to do that, there are speakers coming up that will be able to help you with that as well. So please don't think that this excludes you. So, what are workforce planning strategies? Workforce planning strategies and actions are actually grouped into four key categories. Usually, it's around developing your existing workforce and their skills and capabilities, but it can also be about attracting new people and addressing that skill set. Sometimes we'll recruit and you don't have the perfect fit, and you need to actually upskill them to be able to address the challenges or the work that you're undertaking. It will also help you with retaining your valued employees once you have and you've invested time and resources into upskilling and building your workforce. You don't want them to leave. You want them to retain those valued employees, but also managing your workforce through that business change. So as things change and the expectations of your organisation adjust, you need to be able to change and manage your workforce through that process, and workforce planning can help you with that. So in summary, the Workforce Planning Connect tools and resources, they are free for you to download. They do step you through the process, and they'll step you through all four stages. So if you're using either the workbook or the toolkit, they both will help you with that process. We find the workbook is a little bit more accessible for those that are completely new to the process and find it a little bit intimidating. Quite often they will start with that workbook. You can fill it in, you know, pen and paper, and that's fine. The toolkit is for those that are wanting to do download and actually type in to the documents, and they prefer that toolkit, which is the one on the right. Workforce Planning Connect is used by the next speaker, the industry workforce advisors, to actually step employers through that workforce planning process. And it's also used as the base for a free micro credential, which another speaker will also speak to you about. So I will hand over to you. Will hand you over to Kelly Kerwitz. She's a part of the Industry Workforce Advisory Program, and she will be stepping you through what that program is and the benefits of that. Kelly, over to you.
Thank you, Kylie. Just confirming, is my cover slide up?
It is, I can see that.
Wonderful. Seamless transitions. We've done well. Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction. So today I'm just going to run you through a little bit of an overview of the Industry Workforce Advisor Program, the intent and purpose of the network. We'll have a look at some of the achievements to date and talk about how an Industry Workforce Advisor can support you specifically in your sector. So I have quite a few slides. I'm not going to stop and talk to them all. We'll touch on some very briefly. It's really just to be able to have something for you to refer to afterwards. As well, so that we can send that out and you'll have something to refer to. So the Industry Workforce Advisor Program is part of the Good People, Good Jobs Queensland Workforce Strategy, the 10-year whole of government workforce strategy, and are funded under there. So accessing the Industry Workforce Advisor Program is at no cost to employers. So the workforce strategy as mentioned is a comprehensive whole of government strategy. There are 33 actions underneath 5 key deliverable areas, and the Industry Workforce Advisor Program is one of those. The focus areas are here for you to see. Again, I won't talk through them all. What we're looking at today is the first area, workforce participation, and that is where the Industry Workforce Advisor Program sits. Okay, so here we'll see the objectives. So industry workforce advisors work with small to medium employers. So they are small employers being up to 20, medium employers being under 200. They do use the Jobs Queensland Workforce Planning Connect toolkits to guide employers through the workforce planning process. And they're there as a resource in acknowledging that it can be challenging to prioritise working on the business and working on your workforce when you're very busy working within the work itself. So that is the role that they're playing. So the key services here are spelled out for you. Important again to mention that it is about going through a documented workforce planning process. Not all employers may actually choose to go through that, but where possible it is about capturing so that there is a short, medium and longer term focus in terms of addressing some of those workforce attraction retention issues. I also wanted to draw attention specifically to Area D there. So it's assistance for employers to navigate available grants and incentives and help them to understand the eligible requirements. So the Industry Workforce Advisor can assist with the documentation of a workforce plan, but they are not able to assist in actually applying for grants. And I think that that's worth spelling out and mentioning to you. Here's some outcomes that we would be looking for there. Some key performance indicators around number of documented workforce plans, looking at approving the attraction, retention, and workforce development practices of employers, and where possible, the representation of currently underrepresented cohorts in the workforce. Not all of those will be relevant to all employers. This is about where it applies. So for people online today, I'm sitting within the Community Services Industry Workforce Advisor area portfolio, and you also have access to a First Nations Healthcare and Social Assistance Industry Workforce Advisor. The First Nations Industry Workforce Advisor is with Checkup, and the Community Services position is currently vacant and under procurement. So we have some figures here that have been updated March to give you a bit of an idea of where the 11 industry workforce advisors have been focused since the inception in November 2022. So we have passed 12 months of delivery. We're looking at 50% of employers that the Workforce Advisor Network support will be outside of the Desert Southeast metropolitan regions. That's to ensure that there is a concentration and a focus on providing that much needed workforce support to those outside of those areas. So as at March, we were sitting at 51%. And then I've just provided a breakdown so you can see the activity bundled by region. So it's kind of giving you a bit of an overview of where their activity has been as a collective over the last 12 months or so. So just a bit of a snapshot here about what it will look like for the industry workforce advisors as a collective. They're funded through to 31 December 2025 at this point in time, and we'll have supported up to 1,800 employers collectively to develop their workforce plans. Now, we have a bit of an update again at 31 March. We have connected or supported with 903 employers, and 532 workforce plans have been documented and developed. There are also 393 successful applications for a HR support grant, which is a $5,000 grant for identified an immediate need for HR support activities, and that is all captured within the documented workforce plan. So some observations to give you some insight as to what some of the conversations are or feedback that coming back through the IWA network. So in terms of engaging with an industry workforce advisor and engaging with the workforce planning process itself, employers are indicating that they are busy. It's that working in the business and working, within the roles that they're there to do rather than working on. But it is really important, as Kylie said, is that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So while we have this access to this amazing network of people who are there to support and have themselves access to toolkits that have been developed for them to access and guide through the process, now's the time to absolutely capitalise on that. So while most employers do identify and they are busy, they do recognise the importance of workforce planning, which I think is really promising. So some observations here about what it looks like from industry to industry, probably no great surprise. So attraction and retention are pretty broad, and across each industry it does look a little bit different. Not all employers that engage are interested in expanding. So some are looking for some alternative solutions in terms of supporting their business and ultimate workforce plans. So some points of conversations that workforce advisors do cover, and this is a little bit of an insight into some of the depth of conversation that they will have gone into. So there's conversations around, traineeships and how you can access the variety of, both state and national government funded, traineeship opportunities or training opportunities, subsidised training and the like, to be able to look at retention strategies for existing staff as well as attraction for incoming. Mentoring and tools such as the Harrison's tool, and certainly referrals to the Workforce Evolve program, which you will be hearing about this afternoon as well, are definitely high on the level of interest for employers. They're talking about observing an openness to flexible work, and what that looks like again per employer and per industry does change, but certainly looking at things like work week structures. So the network are really assisting employers to look outside the square. If it's not about being able to offer additional, wages or reflect it in by way of remuneration, what are other ways that you can incentivise your workforce? And I guess it's about establishing that employee value proposition, and it's assisting them to work out what their messaging might be. So of interest there also is that the vet sector themselves, are not immune to the workforce challenges that other employers and other industries are experiencing as well. And so that is where you'll see some industries are actually reporting a barrier to them in upskilling, their existing staff or bringing new staff in, is actually access to qualified trainers. And the other point that I wanted to make just while we're on this slide here is that some of the employers are actually indicating that the reason that they are engaging with an industry workforce advisor is because they can see that the program has longevity, and that workforce advisor will be there as a resource for them until the end of 2025 at this point in time. So it means if I engage now and start a conversation, I know that you'll be there in 6 months' time for me to come back to and have a conversation with. So that's actually been really insightful and a big incentive for employers to engage. So a little bit more about the workforce support that is available and the way that the IWAs will roll out in practice. As I say, there's a number of areas that they will focus in terms of conversations and looking at development opportunities. So it's about being able to provide as many new options for that employer as part of the conversation that they wouldn't have had before. I always say if they can walk away with something from the conversation they didn't have when they started, then it's a conversation worth having. So they certainly do encourage participation in things like, the micro credentials. Again, the Workforce Evolve, it's looking for skill development for existing staff. There's the range of back to work short courses that they refer employers onto, which are also, it's really topical, very relevant, easily able to, easily consumable, I think is what we say in the Workforce Advisor Network. Love having access to those resources wherever possible. What we're doing is tapping employers into existing resources that are there so that we know that they'll be able to go back to them and access them at another point in time, and that are free and freely accessible to them, so that decreases some of the barriers in accessing those tools and resources. So for more information about the Industry Workforce Advisor Network, you'll find the landing page on the Business Queensland website, and that's where you'll see specific details and contact information for each individual workforce advisor. So the contact details on there go to an individual, the mobile number and the email address belong to the contact. At this point in time, your community services inquiries will be coming through to us here at the department, to the industry advisor inbox, and we'll be responding to those in the interim. So you can reach out directly to your industry workforce advisor. And then, depending on the industry you're engaging, some workforce advisors do use an expression of interest process, but first and foremost, you will be able to get through to them and speak to them directly in the first instance. So for now, you can also direct your community services sector inquiries through to myself, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you. We can always start having a look at some of the tools and resources and start you thinking about what are some of the workforce planning activities that you may be able to start looking at. And so with me, I don't know how I went with time, Kylie, but I am able to hand over now to Dr. Wayne Graham, who is with the University of the Sunshine Coast, who's going to be presenting about business and workforce planning micro-credentials, something very well loved by the Workforce Advisor Network. Thank you, Wayne. Thanks, Kylie.
Thank you very much, Kelly. So, yes, I'd like to talk about a partnership that exists between the University of the Sunshine Coast and the Queensland Government's Department of Employment, Small Business and Training, along with, of course, Jobs Queensland. So I'd like to discuss with you today 4 opportunities for micro-credential courses: the business planning course, the continuity planning course, and 2 workforce planning courses, one for businesses or organizations and the other one for regions. So let's look at the business planning course. This has a 4-year history now. We first commenced in the Moreton Bay area, work with the Moreton Bay Council as part of a COVID economic recovery tool, in particular for those small to micro businesses that were having a negative impact as a result of the pandemic, with customers just literally drying up over a few weeks. So we did that in 2020, and then in 2021, we expanded into other regions within the university's footprint. So we went to the Sunshine Coast, we also went to Gympie, and we delivered the course in the Fraser Coast. And it was during that period that we started inviting DESBIT field officers and senior field officers into the course to see if there was an appetite for going beyond the North Coast region, and certainly it was. So we now have funding via DESBIT for this course to go right across the state of Queensland. We're now in our 4th year, and we deliver the course simultaneously on site and online. We also have, of course, the option for anyone undertaking the course to do so at their own pace. So they have access to online resources, video recordings, and all of our materials, just as they would as any other university student, and therefore can study at their own pace. So 3 different options: on-site, online, or at your own pace. Especially important for micro and small businesses who, as mentioned by both Kelly and Kylie previously, just may not, the timing of the classes may not suit them, so they can have that flexibility. The course runs for 7 weeks. I'm actually in the final week of the delivery of this course in Mackay at the moment. And so immediately following this week, we'll have concluded the Mackay business planning course, and then we're off to Ipswich for the next 7 weeks. It's free, and it's available to all Queensland micro and small businesses. And as Kelly mentioned, that's categorised as those that have 20 or less full-time equivalent staff. The idea of the business planning course is to help businesses write a business plan. We know that there are several benefits of a business plan. It enables them to gain access to capital, to secure loans through the banks, or maybe give them more confidence to apply for government grants, including those coming out of the Queensland government, but also the Australian government, and in some cases, some industries and industry associations, membership-based industry associations, plus the banks have grants as well. It also could be to try and source a partner or a successor, someone to buy their business. It also increases, as we know, the value of the business, and that's something that we find is of great benefit for those that participate in the business planning course. Because it is delivered in association with and co-created by industry for industry, but delivered under the UniSC banner, we have included those that elect to undertake the optional assessment items. They do get a course credit, a certificate of completion, and then that can be used toward 1 course credit toward a graduate certificate in business administration. So it is a postgraduate micro-credential course. Now, not everyone, of course, chooses that option, but it's available there for anyone that wants to continue their studies. So the next one is the workforce planning course. Again, funded by DESBIT in partnership with Jobs Queensland. We piloted this last year in the North Coast region, and in June, we're off to Cairns. So we'll be delivering again in Cairns on site, but also available to all types of organisations right throughout Queensland. And there are 2 types now. The first type, or the first category, or the first course is called Workforce Planning for Business. Now, this interestingly now has 2 streams, so it's kind of matured a bit from last year. Here we're targeting the the micro and small business or the medium-sized organization, but we're also targeting those HR directors or those with a human resources or people and culture responsibility within larger organizations. And I should point out here that Kylie mentioned earlier the Workforce Planning Connect resources that are available on the Jobs Queensland website. Well, we've based the course on those resources. So it's industry, and we have an industry stakeholder group that's helped us with the development of the course, and as well we have access to our own curriculum designers, but also we rely also on the resources that are already there. We promote the industry workforce advisors that Kelly just spoke about. We also promote the Business Chamber Queensland courses that Isabella and Kathy will talk about in a moment. And we also support and encourage participants in the workforce planning course to apply for the HR support grants mentioned by Kelly as well. Similarly, it's free to all Queensland businesses, employees, emerging leaders, and it's delivered on site and online simultaneously or at a study your own pace option. And the second one we have is the workforce planning for regions. So this is targeted for the development of a regional plan. So with the 77 local government councils throughout Queensland, we've really seen and identified and observed a demand for a regional workforce plan, not just a business workforce plan. So we'll be providing that at the Sunshine Coast beginning in October later this year. We'll also be providing that as a 2-day intensive, most likely in the city. The whole purpose of these courses is to help organisations and businesses write their workforce plans for all the reasons that Kylie mentioned earlier. And again, one course credit available to further study for those participating in the workforce planning course. The third one is the continuity planning course. So again, we've just finished the pilot course, the first iteration of the continuity planning course in Caboolture. We just finished that up last week. And next week we're off to the Sunshine Coast, but again, available to all organisations throughout Queensland online. So, for example, the continuity planning course that we kick off next week at Sunshine Coast has over 100 already enrolled, and registrations are still open, but closing soon. Like the other courses, they're co-created, co-designed, co-delivered by industry for industry. They run for 7 weeks. It's a free course, and the idea is to help organizations not only develop a continuity plan, but to test it. So the really cool thing about the continuity planning course is that in the final week, the first optional assessment items for those that choose are part of scenario visas. So the visas or a group interview is where we get together a collection of 3 or 4 different business owners from different industries, and we develop a scenario for them to respond and react and refer to their continuity plan on how they would react to a certain critical incident, such as a burst water main or a cyclone that's about to hit the coast and so on. So different scenarios for different ways in which we can test and rehearse the continuity plan. There's some QR codes, one for each. As I said, their business planning course just wrapping up at the moment in Mackay. We're off to Ipswich, after that Toowoomba. The continuity planning course, Sunshine Coast, kicks off next week. The workforce planning course in June, we're off to Cairns. And then later on in the year, we'll be at the Fraser Coast and also Ipswich, and then onto the Gold Coast. And the workforce planning for regions, as I mentioned, the 2-day intensive in Brisbane, but also available in a 7-week format at the Sunshine Coast. Okay, so I would now like to introduce Isabella and Kathy from Business Chamber Queensland.
Thanks, Wayne. We'll just share our slides here. Okay, hopefully that's all displaying properly for everyone there. My name is Isabella and this is Kathy. And we are the workforce coaches for the Workforce Evolve program. This program is fully funded by the Queensland Government's Workforce Connect Fund, and it's delivered by Business Chamber Queensland. Our program is completely free and it's open to all employers in Queensland. So that is the only criteria that an employer needs to fill. Workforce Evolve is designed to support employers to rethink their recruitment and retention approaches in order to appeal to a wider segment of job seekers, but also how to retain those people into the future. We know through our research that recruiting and retaining employees has been the biggest constraint on business growth in Queensland for the last year. We also know that Queensland's population will have grown by 10.9% over the 5 years between 2020 and 2025. This means that we will require an additional 280,000 jobs in our state. Despite extremely high workforce participation, we know that there is still low representation of certain groups in our community. Just two examples of these groups are the 29% of job seekers who have a disability or job seekers from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Here in Queensland, we know that 22.7% of our population were born overseas, so these are quite significant parts of our community. This presents an opportunity for employers to make some slight changes in their approach to better engage with underrepresented groups in the job market. Looking to the future, Queensland also has quite big things on the horizon, with the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games bringing both opportunities and challenges to the state. It's projected that we will see $8.1 billion of economic benefits thanks to the Games, but this will also require an additional 91,600 jobs in an already very competitive labour market. In that time, we'll also see a population grow by a further 10% to 2030. And during that time, there will be a big shift in demographics as baby boomers approach retirement, and we see a 30% increase in the number of people aged over 65 in our community. The bottom line here is that our community will look very different in the next decade, and the labour force is likely to remain very competitive. In short, employers will need to do what they can to attract the widest segment of job seekers possible and engage with these underrepresented groups. This includes women who could be carers or escaping domestic violence, First Nations people, people with a disability, culturally and linguistically diverse people, or people from a multicultural background, the LGBTQ community, and mature age workers, to name just a few groups. Workforce Evolve provides the building blocks and coaching to help you make these adjustments in your recruitment and retention practices.
So in this challenging employment market, there is opportunity for employers to rethink their attraction and retention strategies. Workforce Evolve provides employers a great starting point to build capability internally and set yourselves up for success. The program will assist you to create or revise your employer brand to become an employer of choice. Businesses market their services and products really well, and in today's tight labour market, the most efficient way to compete for talent is to be talent's first choice. So by understanding your market, your competitors, and what sets you apart from the rest in your industry, Workforce Evolve can assist you to define or revise your employer brand and create a great employee value proposition. Do you have a recruitment strategy, and is it working for you? Do you know why people are joining your business or leaving it? And do you understand your workforce needs? We've got tools to help you develop your workforce roadmap. In today's market, ESG, or environmental social governance, is key to winning business in tender processes, and many businesses are capable of demonstrating sustainable environmental practices, but it's also important for businesses to demonstrate their commitment to creating sustainable workforce practices. An organisation consciously demonstrating sustainable workplace practices will benefit in the long term, and we see ESG becoming expected of business. Clients value it, job seekers expect it, government and vendors in the supply chain insist on it. So now's your opportunity to get ahead of the curve and build a socially sustainable workplace. So how can Workforce Evolve benefit you? Workforce Evolve provides a foundation to build capability supported by free coaching to help you put concepts into practice, and customised to meet your specific needs. Each self-paced module is easily consumable, taking less than an hour to complete. And topics include business planning, where you learn to apply a diverse and inclusive lens to your strategic planning processes, which include creating or refreshing your business plan, workforce plan, talent attraction and retention strategies, and how to remove barriers to employment. As mentioned, this is a dynamic and iterative process. We look at employer branding and use the information to understand how to set yourself apart, to ensure that to position yourself as an employer of choice in the job market, and then how to embed your employee value proposition throughout the employee life cycle to support retention. In workforce design, we look at workforce and workplace practices, starting with workforce planning basics. This is a great starting place for those who haven't done workforce planning before. We collaborate with the IWAs and refer employers who are looking for more detailed workforce planning advice. We also cover job design, inclusive recruitment and onboarding practices, such as unconscious biases, as well as workforce culture and policies and procedures to support inclusivity, making sure these truly reflect your culture. We look at empowering frontline managers and leaders with tools and resources to ensure they understand their responsibilities, including performance management, inclusive recruitment strategies, and benefits of creating a diverse and inclusive needs analysis, a D&I needs analysis. We look at ways to manage workforce change, and these strategies include ways to manage and deliver transformational change in the workplace. So looking at benefits, resistance, and shifting mindsets to ensure people embrace change. And we round out the 6th module with Employment Law Essentials, which covers employment legislation, best practice consultation tips, and how to right-size. Completing all 6 modules, you'll become Workforce Evolve verified. You receive a badge which you can proudly display on your website, careers page, in your socials and tenders to reflect your commitment to inclusive workplace practices. So we know businesses are overwhelmed and busy, so we've created relevant and engaging content with practical resources. Workforce Evolve will help you get started. So you can learn in your own time or attend one of our workshops, access practical relevant content, resources and templates, access business coaching, which we tailor to support business needs, as well as connect you with our referral partner network who specialise in diversity and include diversity sectors. It's easy to get started, so scan the QR code or email us or phone us. Isabella and I are both here to support you through your Workforce Evolve journey. And now I'll hand back to you, Kylie.
Thanks, Kathy and Isabella. I would like to thank all the speakers that we have had today, from Kelly, Wayne, Isabella and Kathy as well. Appreciate your time. This is the second time that we have run this or offered it, and I think each time we get a little bit more efficient with our timing. For those of you that are wanting to stay connected with Jobs Queensland, we do have e-news, so you can subscribe. We do share information that is relevant to your sector as well as other sectors as well, research pieces and tips on workforce planning. We're available on LinkedIn, where we share a lot of our projects, as well as on X. We will be sharing a link to the live recording that we have done today. So those of you that are wanting to watch back or get some clarity on something that has been said by a speaker today that is available to you, we'll also email you out a copy of a 2-page flyer which has all of a summary of the different services that we have touched on today, as well as QR codes. So they're all available for you. There's plenty of ways for you to be able to get access to the information. We hope that the speakers have been able to share information that is relevant for you today, and that you're walking away armed with some information and know where you can go to get support for addressing some of your workforce challenges that you are facing. We do know that we haven't been able to address the challenges that you have, but that's where we wanted to share with you the free resources and services that are available for you to be able to go and get that support that you need. Again, thank you for everyone's time, specifically for the speakers. I do know that sometimes getting in people's diaries is really difficult. I really do appreciate the fact that you have backed up and spent another hour with us this afternoon sharing your information about your services. Please do keep in touch for those that are online, and thank you for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.